I'm live. I hope I am anyway. It is Thursday today and it is the 4th of May. It's a lovely day for me. It's the birthday of my daughter. And I am reading out of Winged Pharaoh. It's a story written by Joan Grant. It was published in 1937. She was a far memory writer. She wrote novels of her far memories. This is her first novel, and she wrote 6 more, and I have already read her 7th, which was So Moses Was Born. This is the story of, well, she's still very young, a girl, and her name is Seketara. Seketara, the Meadow of Ra, it means. And it is also her name. She has a brother, and I've just finished a chapter where her and her brother had an adventure with a fisherman. We are now at chapter 5. It is entitled Baby Lion. This story plays before Babylon and before the flood, so it's a very long time ago. When I was 6, I wanted a baby lion. She's the son of Pharaoh. She's the daughter of Pharaoh, so maybe not such an unusual wish. When I was 6, I wanted a baby lion. I had a black hound puppy and 2 pigeons and a quail with a broken leg. Ma'ata said to me, lions are fit playmates for warriors, but not for children. One of the gardeners, Pakiwi, was my friend. He had only 1 eye and he had lost 3 fingers on his left hand fighting for my father in the south. He worked in a vegetable garden, which was some way from the palace. Ma'ata had a brother who worked there also, being the overseer of the gardeners, and while she talked to him, Pakiwi would tell of his travels to Nea and me. He told us many stories of our father's deeds in battle, but when we asked father about them, he laughed and said that if reality were like a figurine, Pakiwi's stories were like the giant shadow that a lamp would throw upon it on a wall. There was a little mud brick house where Pakiwi kept his garden tools, and here he let us keep the animals that we were not allowed to take home. I had a horned toad and 2 white rats with pink eyes, and a little jerboa, which had big, gentle eyes, and sat on his hind legs when I talked to it. Nea kept a young wild cat, which she was trying to tame, in a box with wooden bars in front of it, and had a yellow sand snake. I thought he was very brave to play with it, and so did he. I want a baby lion. If I had a baby lion and it grew into a very big lion and still slept in my room, no boy could say I wasn't brave because I wouldn't play with snakes. Pakiwi had a son called Serten, who was one of the boys who ran with the hunting dogs. I had told him how much I wanted a baby lion, and he had promised to bring me one next time a wild lioness had to be killed for getting savage and left a cub. One day I went to see Serten, and I found him sitting on the edge of a stone trough, polishing a bit of harness. When he saw me, he looked round to see that no one was watching, and then he beckoned me to follow him quietly. He took me to an empty stable, and there, in the far corner, I saw a big mongrel bitch sucking a tiny lion cub with her own 2 puppies. It was very small and its eyes were still shut. I stroked its dappled golden wool, and I made certain promise to bring it to me when I was alone for the night. When Ma'ata was putting me to bed, she seemed to take even longer than usual over combing my hair, but at last she left me. Nothing happened for such a long time that I was sure Serten had forgotten his promise. Then I heard a soft tapping on the shutter. I ran over to the window and saw Saturn with a lion puppy in his arms. He handed it up to me, and it whimpered a little, but it was very sleepy, and soon it curled up beside me under the warm cover of my bed. When all was quiet, I did our secret whistle for Nea. I must have woken him, for he came in looking very sleepy and rather cross. "Nea, I've got a lion in my bed." "Don't be silly. You're wide awake." "It's not a dream lion, it's a down-here lion." He still didn't believe me, so I pulled the cover off and showed it to him. And he said, "Where did you get it?" I told him, and then I said, "It's very brave of me to like lions sleeping in my bed." "Well, it's only a very little lion." "It'll soon be a very big lion, and it will bite anyone who's ever horrid to me." "They won't let you keep it when it's got its real teeth." "Well, your snakes haven't got any sting." And Nea said, "That only makes you twice as cowardly not to touch them." And I got so angry I cried. Then Nea was very nice and said he was sure it was a very fierce lion to anyone but me. And he sat on my bed and told me a story about a monkey and a crocodile until I went to sleep. And this was the story of the monkey and the crocodile. Long, long ago there was a family of monkeys who lived at the top of a tall tree in the middle of a forest. There was a mother monkey and a father monkey, 2 little girl monkeys and a little boy monkey. The 2 little girl monkeys were very good and listened to all their mother told them, of how to swing by their tails and how to keep to the thin branches which wouldn't bear the weight of any dangerous animal that might hurt them. She taught them what fruit to eat and what things would make them sick, and how to comb their fur with their fingers so that their coats should be smooth and tidy. But the little boy monkey wouldn't listen to her, for he thought it was the cleverest monkey in the whole forest. He was too grand to play with his sisters, and he used to go for walks by himself on the top of the trees. One day, in the middle of the forest, he found a big clearing where there lived a lot of human beings. He thought they must be a very royal sort of monkey that he had never heard of before, and he said to himself, "These are my proper companions, and I will try to be just like them." He saw that they hadn't got any tails, so he put his own tail over his arm as though he were carrying something. But because he was used to having it to climb with, he often fell out of trees and bumped himself quite badly, but that didn't teach him anything. And he saw also that the human beings had no fur on their bodies, but he tried to pluck out his coat so as to look more like them, but he made himself so sore, and the bare patches felt so cold that he stopped doing that. Then one day he saw one of the human beings alone in the forest, and he went up to him and said, "I should like to join your tribe of monkeys." Now the human being was a very wise man, who knew the speech of animals, and he said, "We are not monkeys, we are men." And the monkey said, "Well, I want to be a man too." And the wise man said to him, "The time will come when all the animals in the forest will be men. Do not be impatient. When your time is ready, you shall leave the companionship of monkeys and know the loneliness of man. Learn all there is to be learned as a monkey, and in so doing you will learn wisdom more speedily. And stop carrying your tail over your arm. If you do not use what the gods have given you, one day you shall reap the lack of it." This made the monkey very cross, for he still thought that men were a very special tribe of monkeys who considered themselves too grand to play with him, just as he was too grand to play with his sisters, and he chattered very rudely at the wise man and ran away into the forest. One day he was walking by the river, still carrying his tail over his arm, and he saw a man paddling a raft, and he said to himself, "That same thing will I do also, and then at last they will believe I am their sort of monkey." In the water he saw what he thought was a log of wood, and he jumped onto it. He started to move along the water. He felt very grand and important. Suddenly the log of wood opened 2 very wicked eyes and looked at him, and he knew it for a crocodile. He was so frightened that he jumped into the water and swam away very quickly. But just as he reached the bank, the crocodile bit his tail right off. And as he walked home to his mother, all the monkeys whom he had been too proud to play with pointed and laughed and chattered at him. Nobody was at all sorry for him except his mother, who of course still loved him in spite of his horridness. Soon after there was a great storm, and the trees they lived in swayed about so fiercely that the poor monkey, who hadn't got a tail to hold on with, fell off onto the ground on his head and was killed. And before a year had passed, he was born again to the same mother. He learned to swing by his tail quicker than any child she had ever known, and he listened to everything she told him, and he became the nicest and friendliest monkey in all the forest. For now he knew that wisdom and happiness can only be found by learning that which the wise gods have arranged for one to be taught. Well, that was a lovely chapter. The next one is chapter 6, and it's entitled Zeph, the Lion Boy.